Well, hello, and welcome to Julian's bike packing adventures. Yes, my first bike packing adventure. Now, you're going to say, Julian, you're standing in front of your car. How can you be on a bike packing adventure? Well, let me explain, dear viewer. I had intended, because I booked a night, like we can see here, look, you want to see? This is the Premier Inn in Herne Bay, which is on the southeast coast, sort of eastern southeast coast of Britain. And my plan was, right, I would get my bike and I would ride from my home in West Wickham to Herne Bay, bike packing, stay the night, and then I would cycle back. But then I thought, actually, I've ridden to Herne Bay quite a few times, so why don't I drive down to Herne Bay with my bike, park up, go for a ride around, stay the night, go for another ride around, get back in my car and drive home. So it's Julian's version of a bike packing trip. So quick look at the bike setup here, but we'll talk about it in more detail as we go along. So come and join me on Jules's bike packing, not really, adventure. And so here I am, my first stop, and I have paused here at this bronze statue of Amy Johnson, the first woman to cycle around the world. Quite an achievement, certainly. And next to the statue of Amy Johnson is a replica of the bike that she used, which was, yes, a Fairlight Seacan. Now, isn't that remarkable? Because a Fairlight Seacan, of course, is the bike that I am riding. So me and Amy have something in common, not just the fact that we're cast out of bronze and we have our hand on our head like that. See? So, hi Amy, got the gear, got the gear. How far are you going? Well, I ain't going around the world, Amy. I'm going to Faversham. No, that's me talking. Are you going to Faversham? Yes, I'm going to Faversham. This is going to be one of those videos, isn't it? You can tell already. I've only been half a mile and I've already stopped. It's taken me an hour and a half. But here I am on the seafront at Herne Bay. And I do love English seaside resorts when they are deserted, out of season, quiet, deserted. Did I say that already? There's just something about them that floats my boat, I mean, that heats my cleats. Yes, heats my cleats as it did for the great Amy Johnson. The thing about Amy Johnson, and you may be able to tell this from my bike next to her, is that Amy Johnson was very short. She was 4'2" and rode an extra small frame. So of course my bike is a replica, but my bike is a large. She did not, like me, have tubeless tyres. Sensible woman. Herne Bay Pier, and here we've stopped at a water slide, actually one of the first roller coasters built in Britain, and here you can see 3 of the first portable toilets developed by the Victorians, who were very keen on toilets. Queen Victoria had a hand in a toilet. No, she did. She had a hand in designing the toilet. Whether she had a hand in the toilet, one dreads to think. That out there, I don't know if you can see it, is the rest of the pier. And this is one of the first piers in England to be designed with a watery gap. So in order to get to that other part of the pier, you need to be a pretty decent swimmer, or ideally have your own boat. So I've taken off the Rafa wind jacket, and I thought this video would partly be a kind of sartorial video. I'm wearing a Vulpine jersey. Now there's a story about Vulpine which I'll save for a little later in the video when we've all warmed up a bit. I've warmed up a bit, which is why I've taken my jacket off. A carousel. Don't you love a carousel in springtime, particularly when it's not turning? Should we get a little closer to this one? This is an almost exact replica of Red Rum, or was it Shergar? Which was the one that disappeared? This is a life-size model of the horse that disappeared, but I can never remember the name of it. It was it Shergar or was it Red Rum? Leave a comment down below if you know the answer. This carousel is not moving. It's not just me. It's not just you. It's too early in the day for a moving carousel. Now I do like this sign. This sign says, "Don't jump into the unknown." And it says broken neck, paralysed, shattered spine, drown. Drown? What does that mean? Oh, you could drown, or you could be killed. And I mean, I can understand why somebody might decide to tombstone when the tide is in. But would anybody seriously try tombstoning when the tide is out? Because you're just going to land on rocks or stone. I suppose if you're blind and you're thinking of tombstoning, or partially sighted, I think it is now, because if you were partially sighted, you wouldn't see this sign, would you? I don't know if it's in Braille. Is it in Braille? Is this guy in Braille? It's usually a guy, isn't it? Women tend not to tombstone, in my experience. In fact, I don't know any women who've tombstoned. Frankly, I don't know any men who've tombstoned. Well, not anymore. But it's quite a nice drawing, isn't it? Is there Hockney? I know Hockney didn't he call it a bigger splash when one of his proteges, friends, would you call it? He painted them tombstoning into his swimming pool. Not sure if there were rocks in Hockney's swimming pool. I've gone 3/4 of a mile so far, so I don't know how much distance I'm going to travel on this particular journey of mine. If I keep stopping to take video, I'll be lucky if I get 10 miles. Still, it will have been an enjoyable trip. Whether it is for you or not is another matter. Leave a comment down below. That's enough of that. Now we're cycling along between the Herne Bay, Tankerton and Whitstable.
Comment on there about Serco making 900 million and all the rest of it. And yet they won't give up.
Looking out at the sea. Tide is out. Clouds are clearing. You want to see me? Now, okay, I was going to tell you about Vulpine, wasn't I? Vulpine was started by a fellow called Nick Hussey, and a few years ago Vulpine wanted to raise some money, so they did a kind of crowdsourcing, and I put in some money because I liked Vulpine. I did. Anyway, I lost my money, and Vulpine went broke. Nick Hussey suffered quite badly from it, financially, and I think also mentally and emotionally. Vulpine rose from the ashes. It was bought by another company, and Nick Hussey went on to found another company called Farm, which makes jackets and which seems to be doing quite well at the moment. And despite the fact that I lost some money, I say good luck to Nick Hussey, because I don't think he did it deliberately. So this is a This is a Vulpine jersey from the new, or the revitalised Vulpine, if you like. Merino wool has Nick Huss's jerseys are kind of famous for, and it's in what they call denim blue, and it's like a kind of gravel jersey. I think it looks rather nice, so hope you do too.
Yeah.
Nice, isn't it? The only thing you need to be careful of, I think, back to me now, back to me, who was it you say that? Keith Floyd, back to me, the film director. No, he wasn't a film director, he used to make cooking programs. The thing you need to be wary of is floating or stray, not exactly stray, but uncontrolled dogs, because they could cross your path, and not with silver. I'll tell you about the shorts later. This collection of rather odd-looking dwellings that you see here were built a few years before J.R.R. Tolkien wrote his book The Hobbit, and he used to live in Whitstable, which is near where we are, and many people think he got the idea for The Hobbit from seeing these particular buildings and thinking, well, there must be very small people with hairy feet living in these very small kind of seaside houses, and that's where he got The Hobbit from. And out of The Hobbit, of course, came the Lord of the Rings, which was subsequently made into an opera by Wagner and was very successful. He called it the Ring Cycle. Mine is not a ring cycle, mine is a Fairlight cycle, and is in fact a Fairlight Secan, or Secan, as David Arthur rather pompously calls it, I think. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. David Arthur has a YouTube channel called Just Ride Bikes, which is not bad, not as good as mine. I think it's Secan. He may well be right, but then I may be right. Leave a comment down below. Who do you think is right? And watch David Arthur's Just Ride Bikes, it's called. Whereas my channel moniker, of course, is Nobody Cares. This fascinating part of Whitstable beach is called the Street, and the GoPro doesn't really show it very clearly, but it's a spit of land that stretches out into the sea for a good few hundred yards. I think the tide is starting to come in a little bit now, so it's gradually getting shorter, and it's a bit far away, but there are various people and dogs scattered around on the street there. You'll not be surprised to learn that in popping up my bike here and then taking out my phone in order to take an Instagram snap for the benefit of my followers, I dropped my phone in the sand and the wet sludgy sand. So par for the course, really. Shall I do a piece about the bike at the moment? No, I think I'll wait that, because knowing my luck, the fucking thing will fall over, and then I'll be screwed. But it is a fine. I just love this. I just love it. Early morning, quiet. Few too many dogs. You know my feeling about dogs. I like dogs, but I don't like too many dogs at once. But I suppose beach plus dogs equals old people walking their dogs. Feast your eyes. Had enough of my voice? I'll stop talking then. Two can play at that game. You watch me. I won't say a word. Silence. See how you like it. That's from Fargo, by the way. Great film. Great film. Well, we've rocked up. That's a fish there. We've rocked up at Whitstable Harbour, and here I am with my friend. This is Bob Fish, one of the first fishermen in the country, in fact, and he had this is what we call a life mask. Bob is actually in here sleeping with the fishes, and this is the big fish here that he's sleeping with. So Bob is the original of that expression that you're all familiar with, a big fish in a small pond. this was the big fish that was found in the small pond, and they put it with Bob. He didn't catch it, but he always said he would. So say hello, Bob. Hello, Bob. No, it's me pointing. Got leg here. No, they always say that, don't they? Shut up, Bob. Bob's had enough. Whitstable Harbour, by the way, moving on, is a very attractive place, particularly with the cement works there in the background. You can see various boats. Surprising thing to see in a harbour. Fishing boats, I think these are. And there are oyster beds. I haven't got any oysters in my bed. Worse luck. Still, you never know. You never know. Well, what don't you know? Hardly going to end up with oysters in my bed, am I? Depends what I have for dinner, I suppose. Never eaten oysters myself. Don't fancy it. What do you think? Leave a comment down below. Do you like oysters or don't you? I'm getting fed up with this. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? It says here, we apologise for any inconvenience caused whilst we are preparing for the filming of Landscape Artist of the Year at this location. Well, what do you say about that? So, I suppose all the various Landscape Artists of the Year will come here and paint. Well, they'll see what they can do with a yellow ladder and some blue buckets full of nets and some pallets. It's going to be interesting type of art, isn't it? Not my art, but it might be yours. Somebody coming towards me there. I don't know if he's going to be in the painting. Anyway, it looks interesting. What are the kind of booths? Do you think each artist will be locked in a booth like David Blaine with a pot of paint, and they have to decorate their booth? David Blaine decorated his booth, didn't he? Not sure what with though. Did he have a toilet? You want to see more of the harbour, don't you? I think the tide is out. That's why the sea is a bit brown. Or is it sewage? You never can tell with sewage. Funny stuff. Now, I've never actually been in Whitstable at a time when the tide is out, and I've been able to see the oyster beds, which you can see just here. Interesting notice. It says private oyster beds. It is illegal to harvest oyster beds without permission. Well, I mean, is there a king oyster? Is there a queen oyster? I mean, who do you write to? Is there a Michael Gove of the oyster world? Dear Mr. Michael Gove Oyster, can I harvest some oysters, please? And then he writes back, Dear Mr. Hutchings, thank you for your letter of the 13th inst. No. Yours sincerely, Michael Gove, head oyster. I mean, who's in charge of oysters? Is it like swans? Doesn't the Queen own all the swans in the country? Maybe the Queen also owns all the oysters. And if you eat an oyster, you have to ask permission. Dear Queen, can I eat an oyster, please? Can I suck an oyster? I think you suck it, don't you? You kind of suck it out of the shell, and then it disappears down your gullet in a rather unpleasant, fishy way. So I'm told, anyway. I've never eaten an oyster myself. Perhaps it's time I broke my duck. What was the first duck to get broken that was the broken duck? Who knows? Anyway, oyster beds. So now you know. Now you know. You've seen everything. See oyster beds and die happy. Who was it said that? Samuel Pepys, I think. And so to bed. Well, I've reached the edge of Whitstable. The edge of the known universe. And when you come to a place like this and you look around, is it any wonder that people think that the earth is flat? Because you look over there and you look at the horizon and you don't see a sphere, you don't see something round. What you see is a straight edge. What a painter and decorator would call a straight edge. And so is it any wonder that primitive peoples in Norfolk or the West Country might think that the earth is flat? I don't think the earth is flat, by the way. I think the earth is triangular, which That strikes me as a much more interesting shape than a circle or a square or a rectangle. Trapezium. That's what we learnt at school. I never really knew what a trapezium was. Maybe one of these days. Beach huts. Something about a beach hut. Not sure what it is. Cap. A Superman cap in front of a beach hut. Wouldn't it be strange if, when Superman retired, presumably he did retire, he didn't go on forever, he was about 70, and he bought a beach hut in Whitstable, and he used to sit on the sea wall, occasionally go off and rescue sinking ships or jumbo jets about to fall out of the sky, and then he'd come back and put his shorts back on over his tights, as he did, and sit here on the sea wall and contemplate the end of all things and what happens to superheroes when they get old. They haven't made a film about an old superhero, a bunch of old superheroes. I'd quite like to see that. Sort of Batman and Robin and Superman and who was the other one? Catwoman in their 60s or their 70s in an old people's home. Only Batman's utility belt has now got, you know, a spoon and a fork and a napkin to stop him dribbling when he has his lunch. I'd see that film. If you want the idea, email me. It's available. Reasonable charge. Footsteps. Footsteps on the gravel. They're not superheroes. Nor am I. But we're all superheroes in our own lifetimes, aren't we? There's some boats here. Abandoned boats. See that? Abandoned boat, all ye who enter here. I quite like that. The boat, not the aphorism. Linger. Go on, linger. No, that's not impressive, is it? Litter. Litter as far as the eye can see. Well, I suppose what they really need is a bigger bin. You're going to need a bigger bin. What film is that from? It's from Jules, the bin. Doesn't really work, does it? I'm riding down an avenue of beach huts. You see that? Beach huts on the left and beach huts on the right. The thing about the beach huts on the right, they have a view of the sea. The beach huts on the left have a view of the back of other beach huts. Is that what you pay a lot of money for? Perhaps you don't pay a lot of money for a beach hut that has a view of a beach hut as opposed to a view of the sea, where you do pay a lot of money. You often see beach huts, and they're empty, aren't they? The beach hut avenue stopped now. It's a bit bumpy, isn't it? I hope the stabilisation's working. Well, I wasn't expecting this. I came to the end of my path along the beach. Spoke to some nice people and said, how do I get off this fucking place? And they simply gave me some directions going over the railway line. And now there's a bit of hiker bike, as they call it. Us gravel bike packers call it hiker bike, to get up this. I suppose if I was a pro cyclist or something, I could ride up here. I don't think I'm going to manage this. I'm not a pro cyclist. This is a strawberry farm. I've never seen a strawberry farm. I always thought that strawberries grew in those plastic boxes in which you get them in the supermarket, but obviously not. This is obviously where they are grown. I don't know if you can see them. They're like those little red balls. Well, you know what a strawberry looks like. Anyway, those are the strawberries, and there they are. And now you know, you and me both have seen a strawberry farm, and they're in this kind of tunnel, which I suppose is like a It's like a greenhouse, isn't it? Well, it is a greenhouse, only it's not green. It's white, but it's a strawberry farm nonetheless. Well, as I'm here in front of the strawberries, I'll do a quick piece about the bike. As you know, I've got the Fairlight Secan. It's got an Appadura frame bag on it. I've just got a tripod for the camera, spare in a tube, a couple of bits and pieces like that. There is a top tube bag, which is my favoured Revelate top tube bag. That's got my GoPro on it, and at the front of the bike is my Cordell handlebar bag, which has got some snacks and phone and this camera when I'm not using it, and other bits and pieces like that. It's got the Gravel King 38mm SK small knob tyres with the Tannis inserts and an inner tube in them, and worked fine so far, no punctures, but the night is young, well the day is young anyway, so I suppose there's still time. We'll see how it goes. Well, I've come through Sea Salter and I've turned off the road heading to, I think, Graveney Marshes, and the Graveney Marshes were a family of footballers. Graveney never really found much success, but his younger brother Rodney Marsh became quite a well-known footballer. I think he played for Queen's Park Rangers, West Ham, maybe even played for England a couple of times. Although I have a funny feeling he came a cropper. I don't know if it was alcohol or alcohol related or something like that. Anyway, the Graveney Marshes are well known in these parts. This is very, it's a bit sinister, doesn't it? It's very quiet here, very peaceful. Just the sound of solar power signs and the tweeting of the birds and the decaying plastic in the water there. I don't know if you can see. It's just there, hidden by my finger now. Right, we reached this cycle path, and 1 3/4 to Faversham, 1 to Abbey Fields. The thing about this is, right, I've lost a bit of weight, but if you have a look through there, I mean, I'm struggling to get through here. Look at that. Look at that. See, I'm stuck. Right, now what? Now what do I do? Right, I'm in the middle of nowhere. Well, not exactly nowhere, but I'm in the middle of nowhere in Kent, and I'm stuck in the metal gate leading to a cycle path, because despite the success of my diet, yes, thanks for asking, I'm too fat to fit through the gate. You ever watched My 600 Pound Life, my favourite programme? They quite often struggle to get through gates like that. Anyway, I made it. It wasn't that bad after all, but it's a little bit narrow, isn't it? Come on, guys. Be a little bit forgiving for the man of the fuller figure. But not as full as it used to be. Thanks for asking. Leave it go. Oh, God, I haven't enough of that. This has got to be an old railway track, I think. It's a little bit bumpy. Now, the thing I love about a gravel bike, hang on, let me talk to the camera. You've had enough of looking at that. The thing I love about a gravel bike, and if you've seen my video 7 Reasons Not to Buy a Gravel Bike, you'll know what I think about gravel bikes. But the reason I love a gravel bike is because it lets you do whatever you want on the bike. You ride along on a road, you see a path, not a footpath, not allowed on a footpath. You think, oh, I wonder where that goes. And you don't mind what the surface is, because you've got the tyres, you've got the wherewithal. And I mean, it comes down to tyres instead, doesn't it, really? It's got strong, fat tyres, not necessarily puncture-proof, although with the Tannis inserts, hopefully they are. But you see a bridleway, you go along it. You see a shingle track, you go along it. You will see something by the side of the beach, you ride along it. You come off the road onto a cycle path, you ride along it. It doesn't matter what the surface is. It doesn't matter wherever you are in the world. There is plenty of gravel. So I probably need to change my t-shirt that says there is no gravel, because I mean, this isn't gravel, obviously, but it's funny stuff, isn't it? Do you want to have a look? It's it's a kind of metal. Is it a metal kind of track protecting the path? And there's cyclists up above. Can you see them? Isn't that weird? How come they're up above and I'm down here? That's not fair. Well, I've reached Faversham, and this is a model of the abbey, which was a very large church and abbey that stood on these grounds, founded by King Stephen many years ago. And this is a beautiful part of old Faversham, where I came on Sunday with the guys when we did a big bike ride. Lovely place, Faversham. Highly recommended. Now we've reached Faversham, and this is Standard Quay, and I really do like this place. There's something like boats in the water and canals. It's incredibly attractive and photogenic. Many of these are old Dutch barges that have either been converted into houseboats, or people are wanting to convert them into houseboats, and they are partially finished projects. You can see there's very little water here. This is silt, I should think, or as we call it now, mud. Whether there's ever much more water than this, I really don't know. Probably not, actually. These boats don't look like they're about to sail anywhere soon. But I suppose in high tide, high rains, whatever you want to call it, then there could well be more water. Decay, rust, old age. No, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about this boat. This is Oyster Bay House. This is where the king of the oysters lives. So if you want to go and catch some oysters, this is the guy. This is the Royal Highness, His Royal Highness Prince Harry, who is in charge of all the oysters, and bequeathed to him by the Queen, because she's kept the swans. Harry's got the oysters. What has Andrew got? Leave a comment down below if you know what Andrew's got. Keep it clean. Keep it clean. Secret garden cafe in Faversham. About to consume some fresh orange juice. Cheers. And a chicken and mayonnaise sandwich. A nice place for secret garden. If you're in Faversham, well, don't mind if you're ever in Faversham, go to Faversham and try the Secret Garden Cafe. Cheers! I'll try and need a straw. You want to see the chicken and mayonnaise, don't you? And it comes with a crescent of crisps. Let me just open up the sandwich for you to see. Oh, it looks nice, doesn't it? I'm sure the bread is all that fresh. Stop complaining, Julian. Well, I've followed the route from my commute, and it's taken me here to Chilham and Chilham Castle, which seems like a remarkably attractive place. Spoiled, of course, as so many places are, by what is in effect a 14th century car park. So some beautiful cottages round about, and what do we have? Corsas, Kias, Fords, Citroens, Volvos, no doubt, maybe the odd BMW. Just setting off the medieval feel of this village. There is the castle, and Chilham Castle, that is. Chilham Gardens are what is around us. I won't be paying, obviously, because I'm not stopping, but This looks like a very nice place, doesn't it? Isn't that interesting? Unfortunately, I don't have an Alfa Romeo. Used to have, don't have any more. If I did have, I could park here. Isn't that interesting? You never see a Skoda Yeti parking only, do you? A fine set of timbered houses. Some cones outside. It's just what you need, isn't it? A white horse, a fine old English pub. Where I shall not be stopping. This is in Chilham. What do they do with their vegetables in this town? You guessed it. They eat them. Do you want to see some window boxes? Not window boxes. What do they call those? Hanging baskets. Pretty though, aren't they? With Joni Mitchell in the background singing Big Yellow Taxi. Live. Who would have thought that Joni Mitchell would have rocked up in Chilham on a Tuesday lunchtime? Just goes to show. Lambs gambling in the fields. When the fun stops, stop. Gamble away. Oh, he's having a shit. Good Lord. You pays your money. You takes your choice. They seem happy, don't they? Wait till they lose their legs. Won't be laughing then, will you? Won't be laughing at all. Scratch your head. That's it. Lambs. Aren't they pretty? Tasty too. There's one baby lamb sitting with his mum. Mutton dressed as lamb. Which is which? No, the lamb is the lamb, isn't it? The other one is the sheep. I was asking somebody the other day, why do we eat young sheep, i.e. lambs, but young calves are seen as beyond the pale? Never quite understood that. Pretty, aren't they? Well, not pretty, but you know what I mean. Attractive. Do you want a close-up? That's about all you're going to get. Well, I've left the delightful but rather car-ridden village of Chilham, and I've joined this cycle path which runs alongside the River Stour and probably goes all the way to Canterbury. Very attractive cycle path, footpath, route for people, old people, walkers, dogs, cyclists, everybody. In fact, the whole world is welcome, except for BMW drivers. I've reached Canterbury, and here we are on the bridge over the River Stour, looking down at a bunch of punts. Always good for a laugh. And there, as the camera pans across, the cameraman pans across, you can see a beautiful display of flowers. Yes, they are indeed flowers. What sort? I couldn't tell you. Pretty flowers anyway. There's a swan, one of the Queen's swans. Is it a swan? There's a seagull. There's a pigeon. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? I think it's a seagull, actually. Seagulls are only near the sea. That's just an albino pigeon. Let's follow it. See where it goes. We're tracking it. Tracking this bird. Come on, bird, fly away. Think he's going to fly away? Don't think so. He's going to peck these flowers until there are none left. He's bored now, and so are we. Huntsman has found his punters. Hunters set off. Couple of punts in the punt. Punter punting. How many punt jokes can we manage in a single video? That's as far as we go, chaps. Turn around now and come back again. Wear your life jacket. Take your head in your hands. Kiss your ass goodbye. Well, I've left Canterbury after that little detour, and I've decided to join the National Cycle Network Crab and Winkle Way. This is National Cycle Network 1, and it goes from Canterbury, well, this part of it goes from Canterbury to Whitstable, and I'm 4.5 miles from Whitstable. It's a nice route. It's not as enjoyable. You're not beside a river or the sea or anything like that. A lot of it is going through woodland or kind of tracks or something, but it's off-road. Not gravel, but some of it's gravel, some of it's kind of pavementy, asphalty type stuff. So it's a decent road surface. You could do it on a road bike. You don't need a mountain bike or a quad bike or an octa bike. What's that? Octa bike, I suppose, is the one with 8 wheels. Sex bike. That's a bike on which you can have sex. No, it's a bike with 6 wheels. And there's a tractor going past. Tractors and cars. They're not on the cycle network, but I've just crossed the road. So I've really enjoyed this ride. I'm going to say it now, guys. Hello, me again. Really enjoyed this ride. It's been a great ride. Not done a lot of miles, not done very fast, but cycling isn't always about going fast, not always about going long distances. It is about trying to get away from the fucking cars. It's another one of those signs. So there's a rubbish bin in the way. It's a bit like a totem pole, isn't it? I don't know who designed these. A Millennium Project, it says. Well, at least I found a section where there aren't too many cars. Sounds like the Battle of Britain going on in the skies above me. It's been quite a bumpy, gravelly track, this one. So you could do it on a road bike, but I suppose you'd be worried about punctures. You wouldn't necessarily get them, but you'd be worried about getting them. And that's never fun, is it? You want some riding along video? Some of the other YouTubers that I watch, Katie Kookaburra, Francis Cade, Leonard Lee, Richard Lake, watch them all. They do quite a lot of riding along videos. Do you enjoy it? I'm not sure I do entirely. I mean, you know what riding a bike looks like, you know what I look like. Put the two together, you've got a riding along video. Leave a comment down below if you want to see more of it, or indeed less of it. Or don't leave a comment at all, actually. I'm fed up with the comments. Just say something nice, or buy me a coffee, send money. Yeah, that's what they used to say in Private Eye, isn't it? Send money. I better stop now, I'm going to a hill. There, I came to a stop. Other YouTubers seem to be able to ride along no-handed, or rather no hands on the handlebars and one hand holding the the camera, but I'm not very good at that. Is it an age thing? Don't know, it could be an age thing. I know my balance is not what it used to be. I mean, I once walked across Niagara Falls on a tightrope. Fell off, but that was nothing to do with balance, that was something else. But I don't think I could do that now. I mean, I could do the falling off bit. I'm not sure I could get halfway across Niagara Falls. I mean, and what's the point? Nobody cares. Nobody cares indeed. Just had to turn off because there was a family going past. One thing I haven't spoken about, and that's the shorts. And you're probably wondering, what is he wearing today? Well, these are gravel shorts, yes. Who'd have thunk it that you needed special shorts to go gravel riding? Anyway, that's what they're called. They're gravel shorts, and they're by La Passione. Rather expensive Italian brand. And you're wondering, well, why is he wearing gravel shorts? Well, I suppose if you're doing a kind of poodle, off-road, gravelly type, take your time, enjoy the scenery ride. I mean, do you really want to dress like, I don't know, Marco Pantani or somebody in a whole load of lycra? I mean, you just look a bit of a knob, don't you? So I thought ordinary shorts, well, not ordinary shorts, obviously, gravel shorts, would kind of complete the look. So we've got a gravel top, which I've spoken about, Vulpine. I didn't get my money back, but I like the jersey. And then there's the gravel shorts, which are by La Passione. I think they're rather nice, I've got to say. Two zip pockets here, for which purpose I'm not entirely sure. But they fit nice. They're quite cool. A little flappy around the legs. I don't know if they're, gravel cyclists have got great, big, enormous legs like that German. What's his name? Forsterman, or Chris Hoy. Even he's not German, but you know what I mean. And I've got puny kind of roadie cyclists legs. But anyway, I think they're rather nice. So I didn't do an unpackaging. I thought, well, you don't want to see me unpackage and try on a pair of shorts in my garage. For Christ's sakes, you've suffered enough, haven't you? But anyway, that's what they are. They are gravel shorts by La Passione. It's been quite a kit day. Well, no, it's a bit of everything day. There's been cycling, there's been great scenery, there's been great weather, there's been kit, there's been food, there's been the River Stour, there's been Faversham, there's been the ruins of the old abbey. It's had absolutely everything except company. So I've had to be my own company for a change, and I hope I've kept you company on this trip, at least for a little while. Not quite finished yet. Going to breeze into Whitstable and then breeze out again to Herne Bay, but that will follow a similar route that I did this morning. So you've kind of seen that, but we may take a bit of video because the weather's so nice. So hope you're enjoying it so far. Don't switch off. Well, there might be more coming. That's why you shouldn't switch off. Well, here I am back at Camp Julian. So I shall get my tent and my bivvy and my sleeping bag and my sleeping bag and my sleeping mat and my shit system, my cooking system, and I shall go and pop into the Premier Inn and have a decent night's sleep. It was rather a slog back along the seafront through Tankerton. Glorious day, but heavy wind in front of me. Anyway, you don't want to know about that. You want to know about the numbers. So what have we got? Can you see that? It's 50.7 miles, average 9.7, ride time 5 hours, 12 minutes, 29 seconds. And it's now, what is it, 10 to 5, and I set off at about 8:30. So long old day, long old ride, not many miles, and I really enjoyed it. One of the best days on the bike ever. So thanks to everyone for supporting me. Thanks to all my sponsors. Vulpine, La Passione, GoPro, Fairlight, of course, Apidura, and all the rest of you. And if you would like to join my sponsors, drop me an email and contact my agent. So this is the end of day 1 of Julian's video. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Well, I thought I'd do a little coda to today's trip. Here you can see the place where I've decided to set up my wild camp. And I have my my bivvy bag and my tent. Got a 2-man tent and a 1-man tent and a 3-man tent. Actually, a couple of sleeping bags, sleeping mat. Wasn't quite sure what I was going to choose. Interesting thing was, I got to the Premier Inn early, and I went into reception and said, I'm booked in for this evening. Can I park my car here because I'm going for a bike ride? And a lady on reception looked at me like I had 3 ears. And she said, I don't know. And I said, well, you do work here, do you? She said, yeah. I said, do you think it's all right for me to use the car park? And she said, well, I'm not sure. I said, it's your car park, isn't it? She said, yeah. I said, so what do you reckon then? Give it a whirl? And she said, yeah, suppose so. So I parked here and I went for my bike ride. And I've come back, set up my camp, obviously, and went to have dinner. And this is the thing, of course, if you're wild camping, right, you can't have the sort of dinner that I have. I was watching, I like watching Badger's bike packing videos. If you've never seen him, he does some good videos. Anyway, when he goes bike packing, he sits down in a field somewhere with his 2-man tent, one person in his 2-man tent. And he has a kind of bag of curry which he fills with hot water, and that's his dinner. Well, that doesn't really do it for me. I've had a long bike ride, so I had a thing called what was it called? Trash can nachos. These were kind of nachos, tasted a bit like magazine covers, in a kind of metal bin with some cheese and chili and spring onions and some shit on top. And then I had, you're going to love this, right? And a tandoori. A tandoori mixed grill, which comes with, I kid you not, a sausage, steak. I didn't think Indians ate steak. I thought cows were fairly sacred to the Indians. Anyway, I had poppadom, 4 samosas, tandoori chips, which were actually surprisingly tasteful, a little tiny little thimbleful of raita, and a bit of chicken breast as well, kind of tandoori chicken breast. Now you're not going to get that if you're wild camping, are you? And I had lime juice and sparkling water, and I had a Diet Coke, and then I had, listen to this, I had an Eton Mess sundae, which was strawberries, meringue, whipped cream, ice cream. Yeah, all the devils were there in that ice cream. Now, Badger's bike packing. You never had an Eton Mess sundae, did you? You didn't have a plastic bag that you filled with hot water and you got an Eton Mess sundae out of it like I did. So, Jules' bike packing is the kind of bike packing that everybody ought to do. So, this video has kind of run on a bit. So, there may not be much time left for tomorrow's video, or you may just end up watching a really, really, really long video. So, I'm going to turn in fairly soon, watch the football if it's on. So, stay tuned for more of Jules's bike packing adventures. We can't wait.